Hi, my name is Marta. I'm very glad you're here. Thank you for spending time with me. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, a kind of video setup I have never done before, and it's going to be the November wrap-up. So today is the last day of November. I've read as many books as I'm going to read this month, and I want to come back to my November cover page and update it. This is usually how I always start my cover pages, at least for 2025. This is the format I've been using. And it looks very sparse up until the end of the month, which is what I'm gonna be filling up today. But at the beginning of the month, all I do is name of the month, chapter, and then I add my TBR, and usually it is linked to any readathons I'm participating in that month. And then I have the calendar section here, and as you can see right now it looks pretty plain, pretty monochromatic, but by the end we are gonna add some color. So what I'm gonna do is speed up the process and fill in this page, and then I'll come back to you and we will talk about the different books I've read this month. Okay, I'm scared of this one. I used a different ink and I have a feeling it's gonna smear. Okay, no, good, good. Here we go then. This is how my wrap-ups look like when they are completed. This is the November one, but this is, for example, the October one. You'll see a flip through of this journal at the beginning of 2026. Again, the structure is the same. TBR I mentioned at the beginning. Then the readathons I participated in. So I have the buzzword readathon, both the book covers and the word. I have the A Year of Goober Adventures in Albea. These three are annual. So I have a prompt for every single month, and every single month I have been participating. And then this year I have tried to include a readathon, a monthly readathon every month. So the one that I chose for November was the 52 books, the 52 book club mini challenge. I don't participate in the 52 book club. I'm not a part of it, but I just saw they had this challenge and it kind of worked. In terms of average rating, it was a 3.5, which is not great. I had quite a few of 5 stars this month, which was a surprise, but also I had a little bit of flops. I read 16 books in total. Most of them were audiobooks. I also like to keep track of my hopefuls or my list of books that I want to read, books that I identified back in 2021, and I keep adding to the list. So I have them organized by year: 2021, 2022, 23, and 24, and I have the percentage of how that list is looking, what is left over in that list. So for books that I added in 2021, I have 40% of them left, for 22, 51%, 23, 42%, and 24, 30%. So in total, out of my whole TBR, I have roughly 40% left to read, which is one of my goals for 2026, is to finish that TBR 0. And look at all the mess I've made just doing this, but anyway. And then I also like to finish with some thoughts, a little bit of a reflection on how the month was. And then here are the actual books I read. So this is just the ones I identify at the beginning of the month. These are the ones that I actually read. Again, 16 in total. They are mostly written down in the order I read them. And I have these two at the end, which are books that I started in November, but I have not finished them yet. One is The Prophets. I'm reading it in an ebook form, and the other one is Keeping 13, which I'm listening to it. If we flip through the first page of November, I always start with the monthly challenge. So as I mentioned, I have participated in the 52 book club November 25 mini challenge. There were 4 different prompts. For some reason I included 5. I just got distracted, but it's fine. I have this one empty. I've read them all except The Prophets, and as I mentioned, The Prophets is the one that I did start, but it's taking me longer than expected. Really enjoying it, so it's a win-win. And then we go into the reading spreads itself. I journal about absolutely every single book I read. I want to make this very clear going forward. There's gonna be spoilers if you stop and read the text. What I write is full of plot points, characters, and just plot twist. If there's any plot twist, that's why I write, to remind myself what the book is about. So be careful when you go into it, because you can spoil yourself and ruin your reading experience. What I'm gonna do is I will talk about the books I read in a non-spoiler way, and that way you can tell what I thought about the book, what the book was about, and determine if you are interested in picking it up. The first book I finished in November is called Malas Pulgas. This one is a very special one because the author is one of my friends. His name is Toni Sensada Bautista. He's Spanish, and he had already a self-published book, but this is the first traditionally published. So of course it is a huge accomplishment. It follows El Muchacho, which translated it means the lad or the boy. It is set in 2008, and El Muchacho is a teenager who is grieving the death of his older brother. He died of suicide, and throughout the book he finds love, but also goes down a very rocky path in order to find some answers. I gave it 4 stars, and even though the main character and I had very different teenage hoods, I could relate to him, his friends, and his family. It felt very familiar and nostalgic in a way. I especially enjoyed how beautifully written it was and how visual the story felt. So if you speak Spanish, if you can read in Spanish and are interested in supporting this author, I would recommend for you to pick it up. Next one is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. It was a very gripping story. We follow 3 different female main characters, 3 different points of view, and we follow them across centuries and different countries. It is difficult to talk about this one without spoilers, but as Goodreads says, this is a story about immortality and hunger. It is also a story about female rage, and in my opinion, it's done in a very good way. It could have felt repetitive, but for me, it was far from that. The 3 women had me in a chokehold from the very beginning. It was very interesting to see how the 3 of them coped in different ways given their new situation, even though the situations were very similar. I strongly recommend it. This book was a gem for me. Next one up is Before We Were Strangers by Renée Carlino. It is a romance and is a reread for me. I gave it 5 stars the first time around and the same rating held the second time around. I don't usually reread books, so this is a testament to how good this one is. I'm a little bit picky when it comes to romances, but this one hits just right for me. We have dual POVs. We follow Matt and Grace. We first meet them when they are in their early 20s studying in NYU. They fall in love and start a relationship, but after graduation they lose contact. And they randomly meet again 15 years later, and it feels like time hasn't passed. I love books set in New York, so I'm a little bit biased, but their brand of love is exactly what I enjoy in romances. In November, I also read The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. This is a fantasy book with touches of horror but also humor. It is one of the wackiest books I've ever read. Let's see how I explain this one. We meet Caroline. At the beginning of the book, she and her siblings are coping with the aftermath of father going missing. Father is not their biological dad. He adopted them over a decade ago when their parents died, and they have been raised in the library and have spent their time learning about the world. Father taught them things like talking with animals, speaking all the languages, raising the dead, and he was very brutal, violent, and cruel towards them. Now that he's missing, Caroline is hell-bent in inheriting the library. She'll do pretty much anything to get there. Reading this book, I laughed out loud, I gasped, and several times I had to put the book down and just stare at the wall for a few moments. It was sad, but also funny and also wholesome. It was a very interesting one. I had a lot of fun reading it. If you want to see me set up the spread, I also have a video. I will link it in the description and above in the cards in case you are interested in watching that video. Next one is Chameleon in a Candy Store by Anonymous. This is book 2 in the Oxygen Thief Diary series. Book 1 was Diary of an Oxygen Thief. It picks up where the first book left off, and the main character keeps using women in his very broken way. I felt the first one was controversial, but I understood what it was trying to do. This one fell flat for me. I think there's one more book in the series, but I won't be continuing it. Next one is A Man Called Ova by Fredrik Backman. He is one of my favorite authors and I'll happily die on that hill. We follow Ova. He is cranky and grumpy and has a very rigid life, and all of that changes when he meets his neighbors. The neighbors are a couple with 2 chatty young daughters, and it's a story about grief and found family. That being said, this is my least favorite book of this author. It didn't quite land for me, especially knowing firsthand how this author can break your heart only to put it back together with somehow better fitted pieces. If you have not read this author and are interested in picking him up, I would recommend the Beartown series, Anxious People, and My Friends, which is a 2025 release and one of my favorite books of the year, if not my favorite book of the year, we'll see. Next one is Natural Beauty by Ling Huang. It is a horror that has to do with beauty standards, the beauty industry, and racism. The main character is in her early 20s, she lives in New York and she feels lost. Growing up, she used to be an extremely talented pianist with a very bright future ahead of her, but a traumatic event derails her plans. When she's offered a job at Holistic, a high-end beauty and wellness store in the city, she doesn't hesitate to take it. Working there requires her to use their tailored-to-her products, and pretty soon things escalate and the story becomes very sinister. The book kept me engaged and it was a quick and unsettling read. Next one is Blood Moon by Britney S. Lewis, one of my 2025 anticipated reads. I have a very soft spot for Twilight. It is the series that brought me back to reading when I was 15, so I was interested in picking this one up as I've heard they had similarities. The issue I had was that it felt like a Twilight ripoff for me. I mean, some of the plot points are exactly the same, to the point where I don't really understand how that's allowed, how that was published. I don't think it's marketed as a series, but the ending definitely reared up to it, so I won't be reading it. I couldn't take it seriously. Next one is Slug and Other Things I've Been Told to Hate by Hollie McNish. This is a mix of poetry, non-fiction, and short stories, and that mix worked very well for me. In this book, the author explores topics such as menstruation, masturbation, feminism, motherhood, grief, and it does so by sharing personal experiences through storytelling and poetry. I listened to the audiobook, and Hollie, the author, is the one that narrates the audiobook, so that's always a plus for me. I truly enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. It was very engaging, very interesting, and sometimes I find that with nonfiction, the author doesn't explore the topics deeply enough, whereas that was not the case in this one. So I recommend for you to pick it up. Next one up is Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. I read Forget Me Not by the same author and I really liked it, so I was intrigued to read her new fantasy novel. I've seen it everywhere. It is actually one of the nominees for the Goodreads Choice Awards, and unfortunately, I don't get it. And look, part of it might be my fault. I listened to it on an audiobook, and by this point I should know better. Fantasy and audiobook not always mix well with me. But let me give you a synopsis in case you want to pick it up. We follow Bryony. At the beginning of the book, her people have lost the war, and the person that was meant to be their savior is dead. She is auctioned off to the highest bidder, along with other women, and she is sold to one of her classmates. Personally, I was not invested in the characters, their romance, or the world building, and that made it difficult for me to care about the story. It is safe to say that I won't be continuing the trilogy. And look, if you are one of those readers that truly enjoyed this book, I'm very happy for you. That's what I want for me as well. I want to pick up books that I truly enjoy, but it was not the case in this one, and that's okay. Next one up, I have They Never Learn by Layne Fargo. She is the author of The Favorites, but whereas The Favorites is a romance, They Never Learn is a thriller. I've had this book on my radar for a very long time, and I kept putting it off, but I really thought it would get a high rating from me. In the end, it was a little bit underwhelming, but that might also be due to my high expectations, that I think that is related. We follow two POVs. We follow Scarlett. She is an English professor and a serial killer. She murders men who abuse women. She has avoided drawing attention to herself, but the tides are starting to turn. Then we have Carly. She is a student who is trying to survive her first year in college. Her father is abusive, so she is trying to find herself away from home. Things are going pretty good until her roommate is sexually assaulted at a party. I think the book does what it's meant to do, but the stories like this can become very draining. I have dabbled in female revenge stories. I loved the Sweepy series by C.J. Scuse, and that's probably because the author incorporated a much-needed comic relief within the story, whereas with They Never Learn or Any Man by Amber Tamblyn, they don't include that aspect, and it all feels too heavy for me to properly enjoy. The next book I finished in November is Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. I read Cackle by the same author and really enjoyed it. It was cozy and scary at the same time, but Black Sheep felt a little bit more mellow. We follow Vesper. She left the cult she was raised in at 18, and now a few years later she's invited to the wedding of her cousin. She's surprised by the invitation because she knows that when you leave, you're not able to come back, you are not allowed to do so. So she decides to attend the wedding and see what happens. When she's back in the community that raised her, new things are brought to the light, and that will change her understanding of the world. I gave it 3 stars, it was okay. I'm still looking forward to reading her new book called Playing Nice. I also read The Compound by Ling Rawle. Maybe that's how you say her name. This is a 2025 book, also a Goodreads Choice Awards nominee, and this one has an interesting premise. Lily is in her early 20s and she wakes up in a compound in the middle of the desert with 19 other contestants because she is in a reality TV show. To start with, the house is pretty sparse and they need to complete challenges in order to gain items. Relationships form but swiftly cease, and contestants steadily get eliminated, and the ones that remain start to lose track of time and reality. I gave it 3 stars, nothing wrong with it, but it didn't really stuck with me. Next up, I have Horrorstör by Grady Hendrix. I've read several works from this author and generally I tend to enjoy them. Horrorstör is one of my favorites, together with How to Sell a Haunted House. The story is set up in a knockoff IKEA store, and you'd think that IKEA doesn't exist in this universe, but you'd be wrong. Every morning when staff members come to work, they find the store has been vandalized overnight, so in order to get to the bottom of the issue, 3 employees stay in the store to do a night shift, and they quickly discover that the store is haunted. I won't say much more other than this is one of the most gruesome body horror books I've ever read. It was super graphic and I loved it. I actually had a lot of fun reading it, even though I was frequently grossed out by it. So do pick it up, it feels different, it is original, and I had a great time. Then we switch gears with Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I've seen this book everywhere. The series has been shoved down my throat time and time again. And look, to be honest, I'm glad I picked it up. We meet Johnny and Shannon. They both go to the same school. Johnny is a successful rugby player and the sport is his life. He's not interested in any sort of distractions. That's until Shannon comes along. What you need to understand about Shannon, if there is one thing you take away from who Shannon is that she is tiny. Would get lost in your pocket, kinda tiny. Like the tiniest of them all. She's also very shy and she's also very innocent and pure, the purest. On a more serious note though, she was bullied in her previous school and her father is abusive, so there's a lot of trigger warnings when it comes to this reading experience. We get to see their relationship evolve into something more. And look, is this book perfect? No, absolutely not. Did I still eat it up anyway? Yes, absolutely. That being said, it does not have any business being as long as it is, especially when it leaves you with a cliffhanger. But it does work because look, I'm already listening to book 2, Keeping 13, so the author knew what she was doing. And then we go to the last book I read in November, The Awakening by Susanne Valenti and Peckham. Similarly to The Boys of Tommen, the Binding 13 series, I have seen the Zodiac Academy series everywhere, and I've heard great things about them, and The Awakening is book 1. In this book, we follow Darcy and Tori. They are twins. They have just been told they are not human, but fae, and very powerful ones at that. They are whisked away to Soleria and they are enrolled in the Zodiac Academy, where they will learn to use their powers or die in the process of trying to. And I say that because how the rest of the students treat them is pretty brutal. There is constant hazing and bullying, and They are tough badass cookies, but still, it's pretty brutal. I enjoyed the world building, the characters, and the intro to all the different creatures and beasts. I feel like it does a great job at setting the scene for the rest of the series. I listened to the graphic audio and I had a love-hate relationship with that experience because sometimes it was very useful and enhanced the story and my reading experience, yet other times it was just way too much. I felt overstimulated by all the music, the sounds, the background. It was a little bit too much. Needless to say, I will be continuing the series. I'm looking forward to picking up book 2. These are all the books I read in November. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take you back to the beginning, do a quick flip through of all the different spreads, and do please let me know if you had any flops this month, if you had any 5 stars, that's the most important one, any recommendations you might have. I hope you are having a good day and I hope you are remembering to be kind to yourself. Bye!